Zip well. I need like a high top or something.
All right, it says we're live. I guess that means we're live.
That means we're live.
All right, let's go. So everyone, thanks for coming. This is the Next Gen Builders event here at Clemson. My name's Davis Hambrick, and we're just going to start out by saying thank y'all for coming, for the students. We're here because of y'all. We really believe in what y'all have, the opportunity to come into the construction industry and really be a huge part. Like Walker and I, the reason why we kind of thought about this event was Walker and I got out into the industry and realized there were things that we weren't ready for. We weren't equipped to do that. We want to do whatever we can to invest in y'all. So whatever, at any point, if you have any questions, feel free. Just yell it out, raise your hand. We want this to be a big conversation. The more y'all are willing to get in and buy into it, then the better it's going to be. So thank you also to all the people that helped get this event together, the Clemson reservations team, and then the Clemson Catering for giving us this awesome food. We're just really thankful for this opportunity. So starting furthest from my right is Mr. Jesse Hernandez. Starting to my right is Mr. Jesse Hernandez. He was born and raised in San Antonio. He was a second-generation plumber, where he started as his career installing pipe and then quickly moved up the way from foreman to superintendent. Now he is owning and operating his own company called Debt Builders. He's also hosting a podcast called Learning Missteps. It's a great resource for students if y'all want to buy in and listen to that. He's also co-host of a live stream called No BS with Jen and Jess. And that brings me to Miss Jess. Miss Jennifer Lacy is the lean practice leader at Robbins & Morton, one of the nation's top construction firms. She's involved in the LCI conference each year as well as their community events. She's also co-host of the live stream No BS with Jen and Jess, is also co-author with Jesse on a book called Lean in Love. They just recently released that book. It's an awesome book. If y'all are readers, I would feel free to go grab that. Next to her is Mr. Adam Hoots. Adam began his career also in the plumbing world as a plumber's helper, then moved his way to be a red line architect while he was attending school at South Florida. He also serves on several boards, named to mention the Skilled Trades Alliance. He is one of the biggest champions of people. He will do anything for you. He has a great heart, and he's also a student here in the master's program. So if you ever see him, hound him with questions. He'll be willing to help you. He also runs his business called Construction X Solutions, where he's coaching a lot of different people. And he also is another podcast host with a Lean Builder. So to his left is Thomas. Thomas is the regional quality leader at DPR. What's most important to him is he believes in continuous positive action. He works in the lean world of continuously improving products, processes, and services by learning from errors, and works for DPR based out of Charlotte. And then behind me is Mr. Walker Lott. Come up here. Walker Lott, he's a assistant project manager with Haskell Construction. He's also one of my best friends. He is a co-host with me, the Laying Foundations podcast. And my name's Davis Hambrick. I'm an AFM at Braxton and Gorey. So to get all the introductions out of the way and just kind of start the conversation, whoever here at the panel, tell us why you chose the construction and kind of form in a way where you can, hey, this is how I got into construction. What can we learn from that?
All right, I'm going to go first. So I was introduced. Thank you, Davis, for introducing us. We're all like really good friends. We're going to be super informal and goofy. But I got into construction. It was a summer job. I graduated high school, and I was looking to make some money to pay for tuition to go attempt to be a walk-on at Tyler Junior College playing baseball. So I got the summer job and walked on a job site. It was the first commercial job site that I walked on. And all of a sudden, like, I cuss, but I didn't get in trouble on the job site the way I got in trouble in class. And I had like this enormous energy that in the classroom got me in a lot of trouble. I was very disruptive to people, and still gets to deal with that. But on the job site, that didn't matter. So it was this environment where I didn't feel less than anymore. And it was actually specifically perfect for me to grow and thrive. The physicality of the work, the brain, like the problem solving that was required to execute the work, the camaraderie, the competition of it all. And I said, oh man, this is what I got to do. Like, I didn't tell my dad that I wasn't going to do it till the end of the summer because my dad's a plumber, meaning I wasn't going to go to school. But at the end of the summer, I'm like, Dad, I'm not I'm not going. And he was really upset with me. He was really disappointed with himself. But looking now, it's the best decision I ever made. And the key thing there is the environment of construction was perfectly suited for me to thrive in. And coming up on the trade side of the business also was perfectly suited for me to develop and grow and realize the potential that was within me. Any other industry, I was going to go to school to be an engineer, they would have fired me because I don't know how to behave. Like, it's just not enough. I need all the sensory input to keep me going. So, and that's why I picked construction.
Okay, I'm going next. Even though I didn't choose construction, I kind of stumbled into construction. And so my degree was in operations management and HR management. So it was manufacturing and people. And then I got into teaching and coaching. And so I was teaching junior high and high school and coaching junior high and high school for about 4 or 5 years, and realized that the growth, the opportunity, the learning in that environment was not going to be where I was going to thrive, because I'm not easily contained. Let's just put it that way. And so I stumbled into an opportunity where Robinson Work was going to open a Dallas office 19 years ago. And it was had no idea anything about construction other than what I learned in college, and started just kind of coming in and learning at that point. 19 years later, I still feel I'm learning every day, but and I've just been able to learn and grow. And I think what's kept me here is that in 19 years, every day I've learned something different, and I've learned something new, and I've grown, and I've been able to help the people around me. And now I'm able to lead change and continuous improvement and leadership development and learning, and just all the collaboration, the things that Robinson Morton, thrives on to help us get better. Now I get to help lead that and help others do it. So that is how I got to where I'm at.
That's awesome. I love hearing this, Jen. I guess I'll go in order since we're going like not popcorn style. So I didn't choose construction. Construction chose me. I have a father that was a senior superintendent, hard-nosed, like gave me a birthday gift. I've told this story a couple of times. It was a bunch of PPE, and he said, pick a stack of job applications, pick a trade, he said. And so I picked plumbing, and he laughed at me, and I didn't know why until I was an inch deep in muck. And so, and I actually felt less than. So I, opposed, a little bit of opposed view to you, Jesse, when you said like you felt like you were somebody out there. To me, it was kind of the opposite. I felt like nobody cared about me. It was a really tough experience. And it wasn't the life for me, which ended up, I think my dad did it on purpose to drive me to college and then go and get a supervision job, et cetera, et cetera. So, it was a rough entry. I'll just put it that way. I dealt with some things that I hope none of you ever have to deal with.
I told you guys this story, but I've been destined for construction since I've known. I went to college for construction engineering, maybe like yourself, and immediately from college went into it. But I can remember, I'll just tell a story real quickly, like how emphatic I am. When I was very young, I would work with my father, who's actually a business person, but he incorporates woodworking and just building stuff around the house. But I would try to anticipate his next tool that he needed, or write down measurements when I was very young. And so I was trying to learn how to do building by observation. So it's much of what I do now professionally and get paid to do it. But over time, if you craft those skills and keep that kind of inquisitive nature to your work, you can take it and go anywhere in the world. I worked all over the world. I've worked on both coasts. I've worked in Las Vegas. So if you're into anything in construction, a lot of people say it, the sky is the limit. It really, truly is. It's not going to be given to you, but you definitely can pursue it. And if you pursue it, you can do it. So I'm here to say that that's possible.
Right. There's not a better time, right? Like this is an awesome time to jump into construction. Walker, you could go after me, but I don't know about y'all, but I stumbled I was in business school, I was in civil engineering, I was in liberal arts. Then I finally figured out, there's a construction management degree, and civil engineers aren't really the guys that build it every day. And so, it took me a while, not the same path, right? Y'all probably all have a different path as well. And so many people in the industry, we got in here somehow. There's a few like Thomas that just knew from birth that he was ready to be in the construction industry. But, the stereotypical way is like, we didn't really think about it. We want to put that seed and plant it and tell people that there's an opportunity to really thrive in the construction industry.
So I was not destined from birth to be in construction. I was actually pre-med. My whole family was medicine. My dad is a chiropractor and medical doctor. My grandparents, nieces, they're all nurses, pharmacists. My fiance is in med school. Everything is directed towards med school, but then I got in there and a lot of things happened personally, I guess. So I ended up transferring to Auburn. And then my parents were like, you should try building science. It looks pretty awesome. Love Legos, love building, love constructing things, and just seeing, something going from the ground up, which is the awesome thing about construction is you can see a physical change. And that goes with a lot of things in life, but seeing something change on the daily and get better and get stronger is really cool. And so I kind of got in the construction industry, and I'm really glad that I did, because you get to meet people like this, like Davis, and make lifelong relationships and meet really, honestly, some of the best people you ever meet in the construction industry, and learn a lot of life lessons about how to lead and how to work with people that believe different things than you do, that speak differently than you do, and that act differently than you do. And getting to do that on the daily is really cool. It's really fun to get to learn about a lot of different people. What you got, Jesse?
You're picking on me like
No, not.
I feel it.
Joke. That was a joke.
Yeah. So, what would you say coming out of I know not everyone went to college, but like coming out of growing up and being younger, going to school or going to the trades, and then getting into the world of construction and big time, either GC or as a contractor, subcontractor, or trade, or you name it. What was the big difference? What did you think it was going to look like versus what does it actually look like as you're in it now?
There's two things. And there's one that's kind of been consistent because I came up as a trade partner right out of high school, right? Worked with like these men, adults, right? And it's a totally different environment, because when I was in high school, I was the guy. And now I'm on the job site, I'm just a scrub. So dealing with that, it was some real adjustment that I had to have. And then throughout my career, I went from apprentice to journeyman to a lot of responsibility with the trade partner, went to work for a GC, traveling the country, went to work for an owner, traveling the country. My responsibility grew and grew and grew. And so there's just one consistent thing that happens is there's a question or a doubt of, do I belong? Can I perform? Can I deliver? So that's one element of it. The other, which kind of balances out, is I got game, right? Like I could help people. I've made impact in every role that I've been in. And so how do I carry that forward? So there's being aware of the transferable skills. And early on, it was difficult to understand how transferable my skills actually were, because I didn't have credentials, because I didn't have experience, but I got a great smile, right? And I can listen, and I know how to work hard, and I know how to learn fast. And it's those things that helped me succeed and gave me confidence as I progressed. It took me a while. I had to get the gray hair first before I could really appreciate that. The other part was at every transition, investing in developing relationships, connecting with the people that I am spending most of my time with was the most valuable thing I could have done. And what I mean by relationships, names, right? Learn their names, listen to them to understand what they value and what they appreciate and what they're concerned about. That little list of ingredients there equips me to better serve them. And when I operate in service to others and I have a need, guess what? They're going to hook me up. And so the transfer of knowledge, et cetera, was accelerated. I can only speak of it in this manner because here I am, right? 45 years old, been in the industry for a while. Early on, had I really had a command of that concept, things would have been better because I didn't exactly value experience. They just take their time. They're just scared. They don't want to make a decision. And so after a while, I was like, oh, it's the relationships and the experience and the energy. If I can get the right mix of that, we can really make something happen.
I want to go next one because I several of my things feed off of what you just said. But I want you to think about when you leave college and you go into the industry, 99% of the people that you interact with are going to have more experience than you. And so when you think about that and you're going in and starting a conversation or the relationships or the interactions with them, they are going to have the knowledge that you're going to need to be able to be part of that 99%. And if you think about it from that perspective, it doesn't mean they're all amazing and they're great. They've had all these successes. You're going to find people that have had successes, and you want to learn what they did to be able to find those. But you're also going to find people that screwed up and that really had some things that didn't go the way they wanted. But you're going to learn from those too. And so don't come in. I use an example, and Adam laughs at me, but I don't come in like you've got all the answers because you have the degree. You do have the degree, and that's created the foundation of what you're going to build upon. But everyone else is already out there, and they have bodies of work, and they've done things that will help you become those people. And if you allow yourself to absorb that knowledge and really allow yourself to kind of learn from that, and not just come in going, well, I know that. At that point, people are going to stop sharing. And you're going to come in and you know what, you may have an idea. You may have something that will make something better. But my example is I played basketball my whole life. I played basketball in college, and I played it as an adult. And so when I'm out there and I'm shooting free throws and someone comes up to me and they're like, oh, well, you should do this. If they don't have the experience that I have, then they're not going to be able to elevate my game. And so you want to be able to get that foundation and that experience first and be able to absorb that so that when you do give input and you do try to add value, you are actually taking something to another level. Instead of just, okay, I got that part, but what about this? But that means you're not listening and you're not absorbing it, and you're not going to be able to create that foundation. So just think about that.
We're going to have to start on this side of the table from now on. We're going to have to institute a rule here. So following those lines, right? So the people you come across will have done this work tenfold before you, right? So we need to respect that person's opinion. We need to allow that person to innovate. You need to listen to that, like taking everything that they're saying and applying that to the worker. You got to listen to that person. And I'll tell you, so to speak back to the question, my expectation of the industry when I came in was like, okay, I'm coming into an industry that's organized, that cares about its people, that really just is getting better every day. And I don't want to scare you away from the industry, but that's not the case. And there is so much room for improvement in the industry that literally all you have to do is listen to the complaints of the workers and address them. And you're going to be an all-star in any company that nobody does that. It's insane. Like if you were hungry, what's your name? Matthew. If you were hungry, right, and I wanted to feed you and I had a bunch of options, instead of just like putting something in front of you and saying, eat this, I might say, hey man, what are you hungry for? Like it just makes total sense, but yet we just don't do it in the industry. And so I encourage you, because it's uncomfortable. And so I would encourage you to be a little bit uncomfortable, right? That's what I think all of our, they got no BS with Jen and Jess, the no bullshito side of that's it. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And you're not coming into an organized industry. You're coming into somewhat of a chaotic industry, but that's exciting because you have an opportunity to improve it.
And we're seeing change. We're seeing improvements.
It's happening. Like that's one of my favorite sayings. I coach baseball. My son's 12 and he plays baseball. And I'll see a kid make a mistake and then I'll coach him up real quick. And then the next play, he'll make the play and do exactly what we just talked about. And I say, I just saw you get better. Or I see you get better. Like that's really hard to see, but we can see it in front of our eyes right now. We're improving, especially with books like this coming out. Lean in Love. Again, that's what Jen and Jess put out there recently, but this is what they're talking about, like relationships and listening to this person and finding the next question. What motivates them? What drives them? What do they want to eat, Matthew?
Barbecue. There you go.
I hope so.
We're in South Carolina.
Did I miss it? It's Matt. No, it's Matthew. Right?
It's Matthew.
Yeah.
It's Matthew.
You said Mark.
On some of projects I've worked on, we've actually brought in college students and graduate students and PhDs. So perhaps we can use your services soon, hopefully for free. Academical. But the reason why we would do that is because you bring a perspective that isn't biased by working in an industry for 20 plus years.
Not your guy.
Right? So you bring that critical thinking that you learn in college, and it's almost the only place really that I know of where people really refine that. You learn to take a scientific method to things, and the reason why we want to hire people straight out of college because we know that they have that mindset and that they have a piece of paper to prove it. And when you bring that inquisitive mindset, but also scientific, and then bring it with data and proof and be like photos. So we would bring these graduate students out to watch an operation. Could be finished flooring. It could have been setting curtain wall units on a skyscraper, but they would make observations, but they didn't fully understand all the nuances that happens. And the improvement that we make when we merge those two together with experienced ironworker, glazer setting curtain wall units, and then you have a 23-year-old graduate student with a GoPro, and we do data study and time and motion study. And when we merge those together, real improvement happens. So it's certainly important to embrace the past, but also bring us really scientific method into your work, and that's what we're super interested in these days, is facts and data.
Any questions so far? Okay. So if I could, I think back, there's been many times. So I'm talking from like 2 years of experience, right? But I had internships, I was going to school, and I messed up a lot. So in these internships, I worked for a separate company, and at the time, I didn't know how to go talk to a foreman, a tradesman that's been in the field, that has that experience that Miss Jen's talking about. And, I would go up and act like I knew what I was talking about. And it was just plain as day, like, dude, you're in college, like, you don't know anything. Like, I'm not going to listen to you. That's basically how the conversation went. Well, and then some other words in there in the middle. But so I get to my first job out of college, working for Clemson University, and I have now learned how I need to go talk to a foreman. It's a really hard thing to do, but it's really just telling myself, like, he's got the experience, or she. I need to go ask them questions and learn from them. And how can I keep coming back to them? How can I keep telling them that, hey, I'm learning this, and what else can you teach me? And that's a really foreign concept to think about when you think about it, because I just graduated from college. I know stuff, right? But I don't have that experience, and I really haven't worked on the relationship side. That's the huge part. So I say all that because the example I want to give you is one time I was in New Orleans, and this was still learning. This is my job at Clemson University. I decided, I'm not going to go tell this foreman all these mistakes that I see that he's made. I'm going to just go do it in our morning meeting. Like, think about how that's going to go in front of all the tradesmen in our daily huddle. I'm going to go up and just say, all right, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, in front of all of his peers, our fellow foremen. It didn't go well. I got told to be quiet very quickly, but I learned. My superintendent told me, hey, why don't you go, first thing you should do, you should probably go talk to him, have a conversation with him, let him know, hey, like, there's some things I'm seeing. Well, what can we do to fix that? If that doesn't work, then you come talk to me. If that doesn't work, then we'll call him out in front of people. Something like that. Like, if someone would have told me that, that would have been hugely beneficial. So I try to tell that, to be vulnerable and be honest, because, I've messed up. We're all going to mess up. But you have to be willing to continue to grow. And even when you do mess up, hey, man, I'm sorry I messed up. I didn't mean to do that and call you out in front of people. I'll do better next time. This is what I'm going to do. And if you do that, that's when you're really leading. So turning it back to y'all four. What are times that maybe you messed up coming up in our industry? And just tell us, let's kind of keep following that thread of how do you go talk to a tradesman?
Are y'all going to jump in?
Heck yeah, we're going to jump in. You guys.
Well, let me.
Wait a minute. Would you like to start this time?
I get to work with someone who I deeply admire, Paz Arroyo, and she taught me that language is incredibly important. I'm like, language is construction? But it's very true. If you think about just like, especially in Asian languages, very tonal. So if you actually use the wrong tone, it can mean a completely different thing. And now that I moved to the Southeast, it's very true how words are, just because of the accents and cultures. But when you learn to use those words that the tradespeople use, and you use those words with them, and the only way to learn the words is to go talk to them.
Right.
But we have to speak to each other in the same language. And if we have different languages, if literally different languages or different cultures, we have to agree on the agreed upon language and only use that, because and sometimes we even have to create it by using, building acronyms and things. But that's something that's so awesome, that in construction, you can build anywhere in the world as long as everybody understands what the expectations are and what the dimensions are. We can build about anything, anywhere. So how to talk to trades, talk to them like they are speaking in the words that they're using.
So I'll dive into one of my failures, because I have so many examples to tell y'all about. So I was part of a team that built Core Campus on campus here. Are y'all familiar with that building? You're not? It's a big building. It's like 3 residential towers and a big dining hall.
It's got a roof and everything.
Yeah. MEPs. Yeah. No, there's
air conditioning?
800 beds. Yeah, funny. It almost didn't. So this was the first time I ever had experience at the Last Planner system, and I read the book, and I followed all the stuff on Lean Construction Institute.
Do y'all know what Last Planner system is? Y'all know?
So the Last Planner system is a production. You're kind of opening a can here, but it's a production system to really drive productivity on a job site. That's kind of the easiest way I could synopsize
It helps with
Listen,
planning, making
plumber.
commitments.
All right,
and accountability.
Keep on going, Adam.
Tom puts on a really good presentation for it. Actually, I just sat through it. Yeah, it was fan, and he used all the LCI slides. But what I ended up doing was I was getting super scientific with it, right? And I was making sticky notes like down to the nth degree, and I was again criticizing people because I know how to do the Last Planner system. I read the book, I read the A3s, the white papers, all that stuff. But what I didn't know was construction, and I didn't know people, and I didn't realize that all of that was really the major reason we were here, that the Last Planner system was just kind of a way to get us all to communicate together. And so needless to say, that last planner system was a utter failure when I tried to just crowbar it into what our project didn't need it, right? Our trades were pretty organized. We were doing good work. Things were happening. And we tried to use something that we just didn't need. And so think about that when you're out there and people are trying to get you to, hey, go look at this lean stuff or go look at this stuff or that stuff. It's like, does our project really need this or not?
I'm going to feed off of that, not so much the Last Planner part, but the daily huddle, which is part of kind of meeting daily with your teams. And, it's part of the Last Planner system, but it doesn't require all of the steps. And the fail that I observed and watched and then saw how it got better was at that daily huddle, you're asking, the people that are putting the work in place, what is their plan? What are they committing to? And then if they didn't, why didn't they? And, and having that conversation together. And I observed that when you ask people questions and you want the truth and you want them to be genuine and be transparent, and they are, and then you use that information against them and you attack them with it, they won't do it again.
Violations.
And so it's super important if you're going to ask people to give you information that's super important and that you need, listen to what they have to say, acknowledge it, and then help them. And if you can use that in your conversations, then they're going to be more willing to do it again and help you, which again will help the project. And so it goes back, it resonates in my head all the time because I watch it and you can see they just turn off. They're just like, well, I'm not going to share that again. I'm not going to tell that constraint again. And the goal is like they're working together and they're using all of that information to help each other get better and help the project progress. But at any point you ask a question to get information to then turn around and use it as ammunition, it just will, everything will fall apart. And so just think about that.
That happens a lot too.
Yes.
Like think about in your personal relationships when you have a friend that you tell something to and then they use that information to better themselves. And it's like, it's the same
Especially
concept.
with video cameras on our phone. Like, I get it. So coming from the trade, I'll just give you my perspective. I get to hear my buddy Adam talk about how you don't see a master mason anymore, right? And so from a trade partner perspective, I don't see gray-haired project managers and superintendents anymore either,
Interesting.
right? And so the point is the people in the industry are less and less experienced at doing the work, right? The experience is exiting, retiring, starting their own, virtual empire. Anyhow, so why is that important? It's important for two reasons. One, and the main point here is like courage. Be courageous. And be courageous in saying, I don't know. Be courageous in learning and asking people to help you. So to the point that Mr. Davis was talking about, I did a reflection, or actually I did some data collection with with trade partners scattered across the country. I'm like, hey, this is when I was working with the GC. I was like, hey, like, what can we do to better serve you? Like, what are the things that we do, this organization that I was with, what are we doing that makes it difficult for you? And they said, well, it's your tots, right? Meaning the college grads. It's all these young professionals that you have coming in here. They come to me, and I've been doing this 20 years, and I've done one or two buildings. And this person that just came out of school is telling me how to do it. And I know they do not know. And so the courage to say, I don't know, what do you think? What do you recommend? How can we get there? Is powerful. Now, when we don't have courage, what do? We overcompensate to hide our insecurity. And so we come in, well, I need you to do this and you better be done. And you said at the meeting, and aren't you a person of your word? And like, you're going to lose them. And so here's like the super, super valuable thing is because you're going to approach the conversation with courage. All these people with like really sexy gray hair, they're just waiting to share their knowledge with anybody. And so if you ask them how, why, what do you recommend, they're going to pour into you. But if you come with your insecurities hidden behind bravado, you ain't going to get nowhere. Right? Now, another thing that's really important is, Adam pointed out that our industry, there's a lot of room for improvement. But I also want to be super clear. There are many amazing organizations, and there are at least 10 times that of horrible organizations. And so where you're at right now, hope you know that you were in the power position. You're going to get to select who you're going to work with. And if you can't be courageous, go work with the scrubs. But if you're prepared to like step up and like be real and say, I don't know, can you teach me? Go find some of these great organizations. Some of these folks here work for those organizations or have in the past.
I'm going to add one more thing. Jesse said it, but people just want to matter. And I say that and like you copied me. But it like to the point of just think about this. If you're making a meal, okay, you're cooking a meal for someone and they're eating it and they're like, this is freaking amazing. How did you make this? Or my 9-year-old, she's 11. Oh, my 11-year-old's drawing. She likes to draw and she's drawing a picture and she shows it to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. She's like, do you want me to show you how to do it? I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, like people want to matter and they want their work to matter no matter what they're doing. So even if you're not sure, by just going out and starting the conversation with, can you show me that? Can you show me how to do that? come in, that is so cool. You know, how did you learn how to do that? Those questions are so simple, yet all of a sudden they become the expert. They become the power person in the conversation, and then they're going to feed into you. And so it goes back to what Jesse said, like just being able to understand that people just want to matter. And if you can help them by asking questions and elevating them, it will make a difference in the conversation.
Yeah, and what's really cool about being young too, especially Davis and I are both young, you know, in the industry,
Rub it in, please.
like very young in the industry. And y'all are too. As you come out, you learn a ton every single day because you haven't been exposed to it. But you gain experience very slowly because it's a day-by-day thing. But the way to accelerate your experience gaining is by exactly what they were saying. Ask questions. Get to know, why do you do this? Like you can. It's easy to be a yes man, but it's really hard to know the reason as to why. So if you keep on diving into something, someone asks you to do something, okay, I'll do it. But if you say, why do we do that? I'm not questioning you, but I want to know like what the reason is. Why do you put that pipe there? You know, why is this laid out that way? Why are you installing it that way? You'll start to grow super quick. And so as your experience grows, your knowledge grows, you can look back in a very short amount of time and have gained an incredible amount of experience and accelerated your growth, which is really cool. And not a lot of people do it. A lot of people just take it day by day and they just keep doing it. And they learn, they gain experience, but they don't gain it as quickly because they don't want to know why. So for y'all, you know, as being a young person in the industry, especially for you, and we kind of answered the question a little bit already, but how do you learn to lead in your position, or how did you learn to lead and grow that experience or grow that knowledge as you came up?
I'll start. So,
Yeah, baby. Come on, jumping in.
I still remember this very vividly. I was just graduated first like I was in the big league working for a general contractor in California on a hospital, and they're like, Thomas, come with me. We have a task for you. And there's a stack, and this was early 2000s. There's a stack of daily reports. It was this tall, and they had to get transcribed into the computer program. And it was like, oh, this is gonna suck. And I'm like, I knew this was not gonna be fun, a very tedious task, but I got to look at every single day for about 6 months worth of work, exactly all of the trades, where trades were working, who was doing things, and what was the head count, what are the issues. And I taught myself that project, like the issues, to how stuff worked. And just by taking that task and being like, I'm not going to take this task as a menial administrative task that I'm just being punished to do. I'm going to take it as a learning experience. And then all of a sudden I had that information stored in my brain. So when I was sitting in meetings, when I was learning how construction operations, I now had that history in my brain, and I could start to like add, you know, in November, we had the same issue with this concrete pour, and I'd be like, I don't like this guy. And it would start to elevate me as a person, because now I was learning, but I also had just a little bit of experience. And that experience came from a task that everybody was avoiding doing because it was somewhat painful. But so I guess like take any task that you're given and try to be optimistic as possible. And I did that again when I was first time I was a superintendent. They're like, congratulations, Thomas, go work on night shift. And same mindset. It could have been punishment, but I was like, well, this is an opportunity to do some things that you wouldn't be able to do during the day because there's less people. So I guess that you get a task, try to be optimistic with it, and if you always continuously do that, people take notice real quick, real quick.
That's good.
So yeah.
I'm gonna go next.
Go
I know
for
you're
it.
gonna try to not go in order. So I want to feed off of Thomas's, because he says you just do it and learn. I'm gonna say not only say yes, like yes I'll do it, but make sure you never say that's not my job. Because I hear so many stories of someone going, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to get that broom, and we need to clean this area. It doesn't matter how much it's not in your job responsibility, or it's something that in your mind you feel is beneath you. Never say it's not my job, because guess what? It's somebody's job. And if at any point you say that, then you're now saying I'm better than the person that has to do it. And it's so simple and it's so minor, and it goes right back to saying yes and doing it and understanding all the ins and outs of it. But never say it's not my job. Say yes, go out there and be the best dang sweeper in that area. It's going to be the cleanest floor in the whole, it doesn't matter, but just never say it's not my job. Say yes. And the other part of that, which Jesse taught me, is just do it. Just jump. Just take the plunge, because you're going to sit there. There's going to be people in rooms, okay, and you're going to come in. You're going to be brand new, and you're going to be standing in the back probably with some other brand new people, and they're going to go, "We need somebody to do this," and everyone in the room's going, "Oh, I don't know how to do that. What if I mess up? What if I screw up? Whatever." There's going to be all kinds of people that in their minds they're doing that.
That's the plague of the industry, right?
And
now.
in the meantime, you have the opportunity to go, "I'll do it." You may have no idea what you're walking into, but guess what? You're already one step ahead of everyone else that didn't say yes. And so just do it, because you're going to learn while you do it. And I'm telling you, you're going to already be in a better position when you get through it than anyone else that didn't step up and do it.
Have you ever seen that Shia LaBeouf meme? Just do it. He goes, just do it. Isn't that fast?
I haven't seen that, I guess.
Well, hey, whenever we get done, Google it, because you'll laugh.
There's a good book. It will help you in your college career. It's a book by Brian Tracy. It's called Eat That Frog.
Oh, yes.
Keon told me about that.
Yeah, I wish I read that book when I was in college. It helps you organize your just mindset. And it's the idea is like, if you have to eat the frog, don't stare at it very long.
Yeah, do it first thing, because it'll be the worst thing you do all day.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for a Hoots on the Ground podcast. Shout out Keon on that. That's already recorded. Right? So your question was, when did we learn to lead? Right? That's kind of where you're at. I distinctly remember standing on the roof of a building at the University of Florida and looking at a metal panel. I don't remember what we were talking about in the detail, but there were 5 people around us, mostly installers and an architect. I was the only general contractor rep there. And it was like, do we cut the panel? Do we install flashing? Something there. And I just remember the silence, and everybody was just looking at me. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what we should do. Y'all, what do you think? And so from that moment, leadership to me has gone through these like evolutions. And so at that point, leadership was like, just tell me what to do. Right. And so there's a point and a time for that. And then I quickly realized, as I started managing my own jobs, it's like, wow, leadership is figuring out what to do. Like, you got to figure out where you need to apply your time. And so I spent a bunch of my career doing that. And then now I'm kind of getting into this, how do you lead people when they don't want to be led? And so that's really challenging. But thankful, again, you've heard a lot of the same advice up here. Thanks to my good buddy Jesse down here, we talk about listening a lot, and then finding that next question, and then just like, again, listening, asking contextless questions to let you're leading by shepherding, you're leading by pulling information out of, you're leading somebody and they don't even know where they're going, and you're leading them. And so that's a trick. That's an art. It's not a trick. It's an art, really, to be able to help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. And so I think a lot of times you'll come across that especially as you mature in your career, where you're leading a group of trade partners that don't believe in you and don't want that new school crap. Like, we've been doing this for 30 years. Get out of my way. But I hope you get that opportunity, because it's exciting, it's exhilarating, it's uncomfortable, but you learn so much about yourself and your ability to connect with people, and your ability to listen and pull ideas out, combine them to move forward. So, nice.
Like Adam said, my understanding of leadership has evolved, and I think it will continue to evolve. Early on, what I thought being a leader was my title and my pay, right? So as soon as I get to be a lead man, I'm a leader, and then I'm a foreman, and I'm a leader. And so the way I behaved was very different back then, because I wanted to get the job done so I can get my bonus, right? If any money I saved above margin, 30% of that was going to be distributed back to the team, and I was part of the team, so that's more money for me, which was a good thing, except that I didn't really value people. If y'all were on my crew, 2 of y'all would be left, 3 of y'all would have quit. And it's just because of y'all, right? We just need tougher people. That was my thinking. And so I had an awesome boss mentor who sat me down and said, Jess, you deliver on financials, right? You kill it. GCs, they don't like you, but they want you on the project because I'm difficult to work with. But you know what to expect and we're going to get done. Say, but people don't want to work with you. I was like, I know, man, like it's this generation. And let me tell you, like every generation has been saying that. It's this generation. Like, no, it's not. It's people. People are people. So he's like, look, here's the thing. You have great financial performance. Our clients request you-ish. But you're not going to grow anymore because you can't develop people. Like you have reached the limit, you're plateaued, and you're going to stay here until you learn how to develop people. What do you mean? You told me I got to make budget and schedule. And now I had to learn this whole other new skill set. And so like for me, the formula became deliver financial results and develop people. Like, oh, that's different. And so when I started like understanding that, I was like, And so kind of to the point that Adam made, I came up from the trade partner side. I went to work for the biggest general contractor, is it globally? Nationally for sure.
Number 1 ENR.
I was a plumber. And then the next day I was responsible to support the central United States, which was the biggest region. And I'm like, how do I do that? I had no official authority.
Lead change. Not just lead change.
Right, had to lead change,
Yes.
yeah, which means like the real translation is deal with rejection every day.
Getting the United States NIMS to turn around 90 degrees would be easier.
Yes. And so then the question of leadership also got redefined. And so what was that? It was influence. And how do you expand your influence? Through building relationships, right? And investing in others. So a simple definition of a leader, there's a lot of people that are saying they're leaders. I'm a leader. I've got leadership skills. The first filter is anybody following you? Because if people ain't following you, you're not a leader. Right? And how do you get people to follow you? You serve them, right? You pour into them, develop them. That financial performance thing is an outcome of all of that. But it took me 25, I'm still young, by the way, 25 years to like figure that out. And so maybe y'all could like, you got a cheat code now. Just be cool.
When I think back to being a student, I think back to what I thought leadership was. You just talked about how, leadership changes over time. I think that's always going to happen, right? If you're learning, if you're trying to get better, leadership's going to change. So the way that my aunt taught me what leadership was as a young person and not knowing what they know, she said, you got to lead up every day. Well, what the heck does lead up mean? I don't know what that means. I just got to figure it out. That's also told me. I mean, she told me other things, but Davis, keep leading up, keep leading up. I'm just like, all right, I'm going to keep leading up. I don't know what that means. So I've come to find out it's serving. It's being willing to care. Like, I don't know you guys personally, but we care about you. We're coming to invest in you. You got to do it on the job site. You got to be willing to have that conversation with Walker. Hey, he's my project manager. I'm a superintendent. When something goes wrong, I got to be willing to lead up and care. I have to be willing to understand who he is, the stresses that are going on. And that's the point we're trying to get to. They're not telling you, hey, don't come in and don't talk. You got to be quiet. You can only ask questions. They're telling you if you do it and you start to invest in these people, if you start to just don't even try to have any praise. Like, be the last person that wants praise. Be humble. You're going to grow so much more because you're willing to go talk to every person in the room. Doesn't matter what they look like, what they believe. I'm willing to go figure out who's Matthew. What is he like? What makes him tick? Who's Jesse? And so the cheat code is not even a cheat code. Just value people. Like, care about them. Care enough to go, all right, they got something going on in their home life. I'm going to let them go take care of that. Right? Like, we're going to get to the relationship side, and there's just so much we can unpack with that. So going into the leadership side, Walker, that was a great question to kind of set this up, but not just asking questions, not just listening, really into relationships. What have you guys done with the relationship that you've had on a job site in construction, what are some things that you've done that really helped that person, or a story that's happened that, man, I was going through a tough time and someone invested in me and it really helped me perform as I kind of grew in my career?
I'll start. And I'll start with just the way I approach every interaction is, again, I met most of everyone in this room today that they came and attended, but guess what? I have something in common with 100% of you because we're human. And I don't have the same background as you. I don't have the same college degree as you. Probably didn't have the same, the way you were raised. Financially, I don't know what I don't know what your parents did, or I don't know how what house you have. I don't know if you have siblings. I don't know if you have children. I don't know any of those things. But I still have something in common with you. And that was a cheat code, but that is the way I approach every interaction, is that I am not better than you. You are not better than me. We together are human. And so we can have a conversation and I can connect with you and you can connect with me and I can care about you and you can care about me, and it doesn't matter if I know nothing else. Whether you're a tradesperson, whether you're a designer, an owner, a client, another GC, a competitor GC. Again, we have competitors up here that we care about each other to the point of all of that stuff is irrelevant because we're human. And that is, again, every single time I interact with anyone, that is what I focus on. And then all the other stuff just happens. You follow that. Mic drop.
Can you give us the country of origin for the question? What was your question again? An example of...
Yeah, like tell me about something
You fed into
that they can relate to, that, hey, someone led you or you led someone because you cared about who they were. It wasn't anything I knew about construction, but after that instance, stuff just started to click, right? I knew Adam more, and because of the relationship, because I took time to know what he's going through, man, we're doing a lot better together at a job site. I wonder why.
So I got a funny story for you.
Okay.
So I was working at BMW and we were installing toilet partitions and accessories on a Saturday. And I had some self-perform folks coming down from Charlotte. I'll leave the company nameless. But they were on their way down and they got a flat tire on the way. And so they didn't have a jack. And so I had a jack in the truck. So I was like, okay, where are you? They look up at the nearest sign and they said exit 61 or something like that, right? So I hop in the truck and I'm driving that way and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get you. We'll get it jacked up. We'll get it fixed. I drive around 61. They're not there. I'm like, what the heck's going on? And so I do another loop. And of course, you got to get off the interstate and then get back. Like, it's a pain in the butt. And anyway, so I call him and I was like, FaceTime me, like, show me where you're at. Well, he ended up looking at the sign, not the green exit sign, but like the sign on the side of the road. Anyway, so another 20, 30 minutes goes by. I finally find them where they're at. They're not there. They have walked up like a mile to the gas station, but they left the trunk open. And so here I am, like on the side of the road. I have the jack, the trunk's open. I'm like, oh man, what do I do? Wait for him? No. So we change the tire, get them all tightened up. I'm like, okay, you guys are good. They come walking back with their hot dog and snacks and everything. And anyway, so I drive back to the job site thinking that they're going to follow me there, right? No, they freaking took off and went to the tire store and got their tire repaired. And
Nice.
then, but anyway, so long story short, that little investment of time comes down to the end of the job where it's like, oh man, we've got to get done. There's still a ton of work. Those folks ended up pouring a slab for me. And these are like toilet partition and accessory installers. They ended up pouring concrete for me that I could set a mechanical unit on like within a matter of 2 hours. So it's, again, a little bit of an investment. I didn't expect anything or want anything, but it was, hey, I'm going to take care of these people. And then in the end, it turned out at the end of the job, I needed them and they saved my, can I say ass? They saved my ass.
I got a story like that too. That's so good.
SPW folks?
No, this would be but related trade. We were doing a high rise in San Francisco, and in the basement, 3-story basement, the walls are shotcrete. So shotcrete is concrete that you shoot out of a pump using compressed air, and there's a waste element. They call that rebound. And this rebound, because it rebounds off whatever you're shooting against, you can't use that for structural because it's separate if you've learned how concrete works. But this laborer was having to scoop this stuff up, and then you have to get it out of a hole. So 80 feet out, it's a lot of work. So the laborer comes over to me, he's like, Thomas, like, can we use this as non-structural fill in that pit over there? And I was like, that is a really good idea. And I had the relationship with the geotechnical engineer and the structural engineer. So I just made a phone call right there. I was like, hey, I got an idea. This area over here is non-structural. It just needs to be filled. It could be styrofoam. Could we use this waste product that we don't have to haul out and take to a landfill? And they were both like, yeah, do it, go. And like within 10 minutes, instead of doing a really nasty operation, is we were just putting the rebound in wheelbarrows and putting it into the pit. And that was like, that idea was not generated by anybody really special. It was by a laborer. And then not just giving him a pat on the back. We gave that guy $1,000 because it saved, it saved us probably multiple thousands. And not to mention like that operation is just not ergonomic for human beings to do. So it had a human component, and that idea came from the person doing the work. So if we didn't listen to the one person that had to do that backbreaking work and be serious about it and take action, that's one thing you gotta learn. So like, yes, you gotta build a relationship with the geotech and the structural engineer. That's important, but it's also important to have a good relationship with the laborer on the ground. So you gotta have a big range. From laborers to the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. You're going to work with them all.
Yeah, that's your job. You have to interpret all those languages.
Yeah, so that's the unique thing about construction is you get to work with almost everybody, police officers, fire department, people in city council, governors. I've had presidents on my job site. So
That's cool.
Don't ever think someone's
Sorry,
less
sick brag, bro. But
Well, don't ever think someone's less than too, because that person at
Yeah.
some point could be the gatekeeper for something that you need. And so I've just learned that just don't ever think someone's less than.
Change that tire.
Yes. Yeah.
You got
Oh, yes, my story. What time are we ending?
I'm going to end the live stream.
Sounds like a long
Okay.
story.
Get everybody stretched. Get ready for this one. No, I have a thing about time. So I was wrestling between two stories, but Thomas, you got me to serve the trade, so that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm a lean freak. If you haven't heard about lean, less plan, like not lean in terms of my weight.
Getting there.
Getting there, right? I've been losing some weight. Continuous improvement. I've been swimming in that space for 20 plus years. And again, kind of like the leadership thing, how my thinking around it has evolved, my thinking around continuous improvement has also evolved. And so we're bringing in, I got a call from the big boss. He said, Jess, I need you to clear your schedule for next week. This was like Thursday. Clear your calendar. What's going on? I need you to be at X project. We're bringing in these consultants. Damn consultants. I'm a consultant now. Bringing in this consultant, they're going to teach you how to watch and study and improve work. I'm like, teach me? What you driving me crazy? Anyways, came in, did it. There was a lot of classroom work. We were learning how to do this thing. And I was, we'll say maliciously compliant, right?
For some reason, we all know exactly what that means.
I was doing it. But we did it a little bit different. So normally I would approach continuous improvement. I'd come and observe and I'd make some notes and I'd give you your list of the things you need to do and I'd leave and then I'd come back and you didn't do any of them and I'd have my feelers hurt. And it's because of you. You just don't have the initiative or the drive or the passion. And that was my thinking. In this experience, what we did was we studied the individual doing the work and we looked at what was painful to him. And then we came up with ideas to say, man, if we tweak this, if we did that, if we did put these things over here, would that make it easier for you? And he's like, man, that sounds awesome, but I ain't got time to do all that. I was like, no, that's not what we're asking. Would you like that? Yes. No. Yes. 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 Cool. So then we went and got stuff. We put it together, put it in place. And when he showed up the next day, we're like, hey man, we're like, okay, can you move that? Can you put a light in here? Yes. 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 Then he went to work and we did the time and motion stuff and they like studied it. His productivity went, I mean, like killing it. He's smiling and giving us a thumbs up, using this big old pool. Anyways, big deal, right? The next day in the morning, we're like, hey man, how'd it go yesterday? He's like, guys, it was me and Sean Moran. He's like, guys, last night was the first night that I went home and had a conversation with my wife. I helped her wash dishes. I played with my grandkids. I didn't pass out on the lazy boy, and I had the best night of sleep I've ever had. And I was like in tears. Like I teared up listening to him. Like, damn, I wish we had that on tape because that was good for marketing. But the real thing there was all of a sudden this continuous improvement thing was not about optimizing outcomes. It was not about shortening the schedule. All of a sudden, it was clear that this continuous improvement stuff is about minimizing the burden of the work for the men and women that are doing the work. Period. Because the result of that was enhancing the quality of life for that person. And if that's not what we're here to do, then what's the point? And guess what? After that, like this guy, Ruben, when we showed up and we were like, hey, you're our test subject, we're going to study. And it's kind of like this, cameras and people taking notes. And you're like, yeah, whatever, right? Like, bring me some popcorn. Do whatever you got to do. Or barbecue.
Yeah.
But very dismissive, like, yeah, whatever. But after we did that, we were friends. And his team members, when they saw us come back the next week for another round, they're like, hey, are you going to help us? Because Ruben told us we saw what you did with Ruben. Can you come work? Can y'all do it? Like,
I want some of that.
Like all of a sudden people like they were making eye contact and wanted to play. I was getting invited to the party all of a sudden, where for 15 years, all people did was look at the ground and like avoid me. So the point there is, again, working in service to others has been transformative for me. But learning how to get there, right? Learning to have the humility. If my purpose is for me to gain, whatever I do is not going to be sustainable and it's not going to feel good for other people. But when my purpose is to serve, it's different. And it has this reciprocal effect where I provide, I deliver, I serve, and then bam, I get it back. And then it just keeps growing. So that's the story.
That's good. So that makes me think about how many of y'all, do any of y'all know, are you going to go work for a GC or a trade partner? Mostly probably GC, right? So if you go work for a GC, we're thinking about y'all now, is you're going to be that leader that's coming out, probably going to be in the field or in the office, maybe estimating, maybe on a job site, maybe at APM at Walker. You have a huge chance to be a leader, and you're going to have people that are also your age and older that are in the trades. And what this is really about is how do we find a tradesperson and someone like you, and how can we get them to come together? So I came into it, again, I've been pretty honest about it. I messed up. I didn't approach people the right way. But what if we could teach y'all how to do that? And so if we could learn this divide or narrow this divide that we have with tradesmen and general contractors and go, hey, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Like I tell people, if they ask me a question, I don't know the answer, I just straight up tell them. I don't try to fake it. Get them to help you. So going back to my college experience, I remember taking a scheduling class and we had this whole class and they were just trying to teach us this is how you schedule. Well, how do I know when I get on a job site? How am I going to know what these dates are and where each activity comes into cross? Or how do those activities intersect with each other? You need experience. Well, how do you get that experience? You go ask the tradesman. You be willing to be humble to say, I don't know, teach me. So as we kind of wrap up, the last question here, going back to that GC role tradesperson, what's been something that's helped y'all demo that divide?
Ooh, demo the divide. I'm gonna go first. This seems silly, and it's like so low cost investment, high return. And I'll say kind of generally, spend time together. And when I say spend time together, I don't mean in meetings, and I don't mean on the job side. Playing softball. It doesn't have to be softball, but something, doing some sort of activity, physical activity. For me, of course, I'm going to lean in that direction, that requires communication and some sort of physicality that it's in a neutral space, so like criteria around what it could be. It was softball. We were playing, like we had this little softball tournament thing, and like against the GC, we're the trade. It was by the company I was with at the time. The GC had their own team, and we were doing a lot of work together coming up. And so they said, hey, well, let's just have a big softball game. And we started practicing, and we was co-practice. And all of a sudden, like, we were all human beings. It wasn't the project executive and the foreman and the VP of whatever. We were all playing softball. And so we learned who sucked, right? Like, ooh, we're going to go after him because he can't field a grounder. And we learned who, like, damn, if that ball goes to her, she's going to gun you out. So you don't try to take an extra base on her. It wasn't the PX or HR or BD or marketing. They were other human beings. And because of that, we were talking smack, right? And we weren't afraid to say, girl, right? Girl, you need to get down and get in front of the damn ball. Where at the workspace, there was this power dynamic, which I would never say that, even though I know it's kicking us in the face. So that was it. We played some softball. It doesn't have to be softball, but doing something with some regularity where it's in a neutral space where that power dynamic is gone, the divide is demoed, and then just let people be people. Happy hours don't count because that's the whole other mess. Anyways, that's what I've experienced.
I'll add to that. I'm going to talk about lean coffees, but I want to talk about not only demoing the divide this way. So lean coffees are, getting a group of people together to have some conversation, and the topics are established in the room. So you create an environment where you invite people in, and then you have them add and write down topics that they want to talk about, or things that are important to them, or things that, probably they need to learn more about. And then they get put on a board, and then the people in the room vote on what they want to talk about. And what lean coffees do, and what I've experienced, is when you involve your trades and you involve everyone on the project, and then they vote, all of a sudden their voice matters. And all of a sudden, now it doesn't matter if someone else in the room has a bigger title. It doesn't matter what company they work for. Now you're all able to have this conversation around the table, and all of your voices matter. And I've just seen people leave that room, and all of a sudden the relationships are different, and the conversations are different, because all of a sudden someone valued what they said. So that's mine.
Got two quickies for you. So to demo the divide, and I assume y'all know what this divide is, right? Is that pretty clear? Okay. We had a policy at DPR when I worked there where you would put your boots on before you booted up your computer. And so put your boots on and go walk the field and meet somebody new before you boot up your computer and get buried in email and lost in the virtual world. And so kind of echoing what we've heard, it's relationships, it's people, it's getting out there, it's meeting them, it's doing everything you can to encourage them to be their 100% authentic selves. What was the second one, Jim?
Oh, we one already said it.
Probably. No. What was it? It was boots on before you boot up, and then, do the work. Like, don't be afraid to go and push a broom. Like, and that goes two ways. One, like, don't be afraid to go push a broom or screw on some bolts. And then two, don't be afraid to bring that person that usually does that into your office and say, hey, can you run the safety meeting? Or, hey, how would you plan this? Or, hey, ask them, partner them into the job and give them some control. I mean, that's, so it goes both ways, right?
Absolutely.
You didn't say that one.
No, I didn't, but I meant to say it. Dang.
Hashtag.
For me, it's this advice I had to learn. I wasn't given it, but I now get an opportunity. My influence might be bigger, so I get an opportunity to talk to different and unique people. One being Army Ranger.
Yes.
And there's two things that is being helpful, very helpful, is you have a reinforcing loop. So any loop that you design your own life. You're given a task, your first day at work, you're going to get a task and you're going to do it. That reinforcing loop is like when I complete things, I have a indicator of that, and then I say, okay, I'm learning, and I'm going to continuously do this in a reinforcing manner. You're going to do this stuff all over and over and over. That's important, but equally important, and I learned it from these two, is having a feedback loop. So when you continuously do things over and over and over, those are your habits that you're creating. But then you have this feedback loop, and your feedback loop, you're looking for clutter. You're looking for problematic relationships. You're looking, Jess and I are soon to be releasing a story
Next Thursday.
where I would go and look into dumpsters, into the buggies to update the schedule, because the byproducts of production is like cut off wires and scraps of insulation. And if you actually look in the trash, it'll tell you. You don't have to ask questions, but that's your feedback loop. And so if there's no trash being developed in this area where we need production, now we can go make some decisions, right? So you got to have those both. But Jen blew me away. One is like a Saturday morning, and I asked her a zinger on a live stream. I said, the feedback loop or the reinforcing loop, if it's serving others and me, that's when I know I'm doing it. So it's either a reinforcing loop, like being healthy or whatever, getting good sleep, and that serves you, but it can also serve other people, because if you're well rested, you could be a good person. And then the same with the feedback loops. Your feedback loops, you're looking for problems. So if and it's in the construction industry and in life, if we don't also look for our problems and seek help when we find them, and sometimes you can't DIY the help, you have to go get third-party consultants to help us navigate that. So we have to design both of those into our lives and into our work. So I'm just grateful to learn those methods and then share that forward. So you can do that right now in your schoolwork, reinforcing loops, feedback loops.
Systems, thank you.
Yes.
I'm gonna end the live stream,
Yeah,
and then
this
y'all-
is the official end of it.
Thanks,
Y'all
y'all.
can
We
stay.
had fun. Holla, holla, holla.
Y'all can stay as long as you want, or if you